The Really Real Show with Isaiah Stanback.
Never stop.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Isaiah Stanback back in the building once again for another episode of Really Real with Isaiah Stanback Show. Appreciate y'all tuning in. This is our second week in a row that we have actually taken this show live, so we appreciate y'all tuning in. We will make sure that we get to some of the questions from last week as well. I'm going to go ahead and refresh my page. You guys bear with me as I continue to get used to this format. Everybody that tuned in last week, I think we had some really good engagement. Oh man, I know we had over 100 people that were engaged with the show, so we definitely appreciate that, you guys. You guys could have been doing so many other things, but you guys decided to lend me some of your Wednesday evening. So let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Looks like we're on there. Boom, solid. All right. Make sure we get this on full screen. All right, so the first thing I wanted to make sure I got accomplished this evening was to give a couple people shout outs that I did not get to or I somehow overlooked as we try to get used to this format. First person was Mama K. I know you punched me in my chest when I saw you on a Thursday morning in class, so I want to give you a shout out and tell you thank you for tuning in and giving some insight there. I would like to also give a shout out to Jeff and Jeff Broadwell and my ex-teammate and my protection, my bodyguard, Stanley Daniels. Would love to give you guys a shout out. You guys posed some questions that I would love to get to towards the end of the show. All right. And then the last person that I did not seemingly kind of looked over at the time was Angela Lancaster. Angela is the head of this Capel Youth Soccer Association, which is actually the city in which my business is in. Myself and Jared, our Steadfast business. And she tuned in and she wrote a question, and it kind of prompted tonight's topic. And tonight's topic is very much so around sports, but it's not just pertaining to sports. And the topic of tonight is, I don't know if y'all ready for this, but tonight's topic is for the love of the game or my parents. I'm gonna run that back. For the love of the game or my parents. We're going to dive into this, y'all, and hopefully you guys can handle it a little bit. I want to make this as interactive as possible. Okay, I got my man Ziggy over there producing. He's going to help us out as some of you guys post some questions so I can kind of stay on track here as well. Got some people tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Cuz, Pam, DeAndrea, Jay At, my wifey. Let me see who else we got here. Oh, Big Nas. Okay. Z, Mike, my brother-in-law. Okay, appreciate y'all tuning in. What's up, Matt? So make sure you guys go ahead and post questions as you guys see fit. All right, don't feel as if you guys are going to interrupt or anything. We got y'all on the chat. So let's go ahead and break straight into this. What do I mean when I say for the love of the game or my parents? Well, being in the training industry now, this is something that I post to myself pretty frequently, and I think I posted one thing on Instagram or Facebook one other time. I just out of frustration, and the reason why I posted out of frustration is the fact that in this industry of sports performance now, right? And we have so many people that feel like their kid, we get it, okay? Your kid is awesome. They're climbing the ranks. They're amazing athletes. But that's your kid. It's not you, right? So the reason I posted out of frustration was because there's so many athletes that are getting pushed towards success. And when I say push towards success, I'm not saying it in a positive connotation. I'm saying it from the standpoint of their parents are literally force feeding them and making them do things. So I don't even know the proper term to really associate with it, but they're forcing sports down their kids' throats, and it's something that's bothersome to me because it literally takes the love out of the game. For that young adult, for that young kid, right? Whether it be male or female, it really takes the love out of it. I've seen it both in the positive side of things, and I've seen it on the negative side of things, and more so on the negative side, especially the area that we're in currently over in Capel. It's going to be a little bit more of a affluent neighborhood. People have resources, right? And when people have those resources, they'll do anything they can to ensure that their kids have everything that they need to be successful. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's absolutely awesome. But it gets a little crazy when you have these overbearing parents that are seemingly reliving kind of their childhood. So let's dive into that a little bit. A big part of this is the root of the problem are the parents. Right, so parents, if you're listening, don't get mad at me. Just take this medicine, all right, and just look in the mirror and say, "Is this me?" And a lot of times, we have these parents that, where they're majority of the time they were former athletes, right? At some point in time, you hear those stories. Oh, back in high school, I was a beast back in the day. I was a baller back in my heyday. Or you hear the moms say, I had game, I was fast. You're like, okay, that's what's up. That's cool. In 1922, I mean, it's solid. It works for you, right? And we hear this all the time, and that's cool because I'm now in that category, right? Now, as a father of 3, I'm now the old school head that talks about the old stories. I try not to talk about it too much, but that's all we can do is relive it, right? The issue comes when, typically, what I see, parents who in their head they underachieved as athletes. Okay, and I'm gonna repeat that. Parents who underachieved as athletes within their perception of what they thought they should have attained as athletes usually are the ones that are abusing their children in this way. And I utilize the term abuse because it is just that. And what I mean by that is I see examples of parents forcing their kids to do these sports day in and day out. And there's a difference between that and what I was exposed to growing up, where my mom just said, "You're just not going to be in the house." Right? She didn't, it wasn't you had to do this sport. It was you're just not going to be in the house using up all that good air. Right? So, so get your butt out the house, make sure that you're doing something. And if you're not outside playing in the streets, you're either playing video games with your friends inside, or you're doing your homework, okay, at the Rotary Boys and Girls Club, or I know exactly where to find you at, because you're either at the baseball field, the football field, or basketball practice, right? It was very selective in terms of just stay busy, right? And I think that's changed obviously within this generation, because now it's a generation of people sitting indoors. The kids aren't getting outside and playing, and things have changed, right? It's not the same. I don't if I said, hey, let's play a pickup game, pole to pole, most kids do it. They're like, what? They don't know what I'm talking about, right? And back in the day, out of bounds was the car door, right? You get hit up against the car door, okay, that's out of bounds. Touchdowns at pole, touchdowns at pole. They don't do that anymore. And I see these kids coming in, and they have the weight of the world on their shoulders. And as I consider myself to be a successful athlete, I didn't attain everything that I wanted to attain. I didn't even reach my what I considered to be my peak. I don't think anybody necessarily does, but I didn't come anywhere close to it. But I feel like I had a pretty good athletic career. I played 4 sports. I went pro and turned down pro in one sport, went pro in another sport for 6 years. Had good times, had bad times, overcame things. Like, I went through it, right? So I've seen the people that I've had to grind from hardly anything. I have a number of teammates that I think of guys like Deshaun Goldson. He was a safety that played with me at the University of Washington. He grew up in the hood of L.A. and then worked his way up and had to go to JUCO. Went to JUCO, for a year or two, and then found his way to the University of Washington, balled out there, went out and ended up becoming one of the highest paid safeties in the league. That's a grind, right? Nobody forced him to that. He wanted that. He had to work his butt off to attain that. I think about my ex-teammate Marcel Reese. Same situation. Had to go to JUCO, worked his way out of it, became my receiver at the University of Washington, took care of business, got drafted, became a fullback in the league, became one of the highest paid fullbacks. That's grind. That came from within. That was their love. That was their passion. That was their dedication to the game so that they can go out and attain their goals. They gave their parents all the respect. They gave their parents all the credit because they were there as a support system. Never, ever have you ever heard, maybe you have, but I would say I haven't heard anybody who's been seemingly relatively successful in sports, and especially in the professional sports realm. I haven't heard them ever say, hey, parents, thanks for forcing this down my throat. Haven't heard it. If you have, holler at me. You guys are on the chat. You guys feel free to send it out. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that speech, that ESPY speech, right? What you do here is like the Greek Freak. I think last night, when he was sitting up there bawling his eyes out as he won MVP, and he's giving his mother all the credit in the world because she was there and she kept pushing him in the sense of, I believe in you, right? He didn't say anything about her forcing him to go and play the game. She supported him, and she challenged him in a way in that he wanted to go out and do more for himself. he used the terminology, she saw and she had the vision that I didn't have for myself. And I know the argument for some parents out there that might be taking this the wrong way is, that's what I'm doing. I'm supporting my kid, and I'm positioning them, and I'm helping them see what they can't see right now, because all they see is the current. And I know that they can go pro. I know that they can go out and get big scholarships. And I say this as respectfully as I can, but you don't know. Individuals like myself, no. Other people who have been through the professional ranks, no. Other people who have worked with professional athletes in other forms, no. You don't know, right? So if you're in a position and you didn't attain everything or even remotely come close to being successful in that particular, industry, how is it that you're now going to force this upon your kid? How are you going to force success upon your kid when you haven't even given them an ability to have a passion for the game? My mom didn't have to force me to go outside and throw the baseball against the staircase for hours with a Walkman tucked in my hip pocket. What's up, Ziggy? What we got?
Natalie Stanback asks, how do you know when you're pushing too much?
All right, so Nat, the wife, he just asked, how do you know when you're pushing too much? I think there's some good examples that I could pull from my professional experience as a trainer now. And what I tend to see when you're pushing too much is resentment on the side of the athletes. When you have, and we typically see it in this generation again, because athletes like myself, guys that I grew up around, we played 3-4 sports. 3 like at the minimum, right? So we were very diverse. Our attention was being dispersed evenly throughout the year, right? We weren't too focused on one particular sport. And the way that's changed now is these parents are literally doing the opposite. Instead of saying, hey, do a little bit of everything, these parents are saying, hey, if you're a baseball player, that's all you're doing, right? And they're justifying that by saying, oh, well, there's too much competition to be not focusing on this year round. And what ends up happening is they spend so much time in that one sport. They dedicate so much of their attention, so much of their passion to that one sport, that what ends up happening is they burn out. They burn out, right? So something that was a love, something that you did have passion for, whatever that game is, right? That sport, you get tired of it, because it stops being something that you want to do, and it starts becoming something that you have to do. And the moment that seismic shift happens is when they start, as athletes, these young athletes specifically, start resenting their parents. That's where these parents lose their connection with their kids. That's where they lose their respect with their kids. And the kids will actually rebel and go against everything that they're supposed to be doing just to piss off their parents. So I feel like whenever that to answer your question, that's kind of the line that I think that that parents have to stop at, because right before that, as soon as you start seeing your kid give some pushback in that, or they really just start, it's a proper term, not giving it 100% on a consistent basis, you might want to take a look at how you're addressing them, and how you're disciplining them, how you're talking to them, making sure that you're not being condescending to them, and making sure that you're always positioning it in a form that, hey, I'm here to support you. If you started it, my mom used to tell me, if you started it, you committed to this team, so you need to finish, but I'm not going to make you continue doing this going forward if you don't want to. And that's how I feel it needs to be formed, as if the kid is choosing it and you're just there to support them. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
We have DeAndrea Webster on the chat here, and she's agreeing with you. She says that support shows up different in a child, teen, or young adult when they love it. When they love it, they want your support and love. So as a parent or mentor, you nurture that. If it isn't passion driven, it feels like abuse to a child. Yeah,
very much so. I couldn't agree with you more, D. That's a very, very relevant point. And I've talked to many parents. I've had many parents come in and throw their hands up and say, I don't know what to do. I know we had an incident here most recently, probably the last 3 months over at the facility. And we had parents that, the kid was playing one sport and he just woke up one day and was like, I'm done. And his parents were freaking out because it's not a cheap sport, right? It's not a cheap sport. And they had invested a ton of money into, highly competitive leagues, equipment, traveling, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of sacrifices, right? That the parents consider sacrifices, but they don't realize that they're trying to live their dream. They're trying to live their kid's dream before their kid even has an opportunity to choose that as something that they want to pursue. And, between the burnout, between the parents, molding, right? Or trying to, what's the best way of saying this? I don't know the best way to say this, right? But parents, they'll try to, maneuver, something and say, hey, I'm supporting you. And in reality, on the other end of it is like, nah, I'm making you do this, or, hey, guess what? We're sacrificing to make sure that you go, and play all these games. It's like, nah, I really didn't want to go play those games. I really wanted to sit back and chill this weekend, but you're making me go play with this other team, even though I really don't want to.
It's kind of like manipulation. Is that a good word for
that's
it?
the word I'm looking for. I couldn't find it. Manipulation. Yeah, they're manipulating the situation. And it's kind of unfortunate because, like I said, it's usually from parents who did not reach their pinnacle in sports. And you find it because they're trying to live out their dreams. When they see that their kid has talent, their kid has an opportunity to go out and quote unquote make it. Now all of a sudden, everything that I didn't have, I'm going to make sure that my kid has, and I'm going to do it. And they're going to do it the way that I should have done it because they're going to be successful. We're not going to have two people that didn't, go out and attain what we really set our minds on. And it's like you just need to reevaluate. Is that something that they want? Is that something that they want? If they want it, let them go get it. And it's different now that I'm a parent, I have to sit back. I thought long and hard before I became a parent how I would address things whenever I had children, whether it was a male or a female, did not matter, right? And it's not just sports, and we'll touch on that. It's not just sports. But in the sports realm, now I have two daughters. One plays soccer. She plays soccer and basketball, Nadia. And then we have Sky, who does gymnastics and ballet. And then we have my son who plays soccer right now. They're all different. They all require different mentorship. They all require different coaching. You have to take different approaches with them, right? But at the end of the day, Nat and myself, we both approach it like, this is your decision. And if you don't give it 100%, then we're not going to utilize our resources, right, and waste our time because our time is precious, our resources are precious, right? So if you're committed to it, we're here for you. And we're going to make sure that you get there. We're going to make sure that you have what you need, and we're going to be here to support you. But the moment that you decide that you're not going to give it 100%, you're now disrespecting the game. You're disrespecting yourself. You're disrespecting our last name, and we're not going to fly for that, right? But that's different than forcing it down their throats. At no point in time did we say, "Hey, Isaac, you better do this." We're like, no, Isaac, go do you. And because of that, particularly my son, I've never seen this out of a freaking 5-year-old kid, and he's been like this since he was 2. This dude loves to train. He loves to train, not work out, train. And he cares, and he watches diligently, and he is passionate about it. And at no point in time have I ever forced anything down him or his sister's throat, neither has his mom, and it's natural, right? It's natural, and you can see his love, you can see his drive for the game, and at no point in time do we ever want to change that about it. And I think that's when you get the LeBron James, you get the King Griffey Jr.'s, you get those people that just like, hey, I want this. Let them go get it.
We have Nate Graham and Michael Merriweather on the chat here that are agreeing with you 100%. And we also have two back-to-back questions here that are pretty relevant. So Michael Merriweather first asks, what are the best ways to encourage and support when you see your kid slacking in his or her sport? And then we also have Zaire Brown who's asking, how can a parent balance between pushing too much versus not pushing enough?
Both great questions. I'm going to go ahead and my brother-in-law first, Mike. Just to reiterate the question, how can you encourage and support your kid when they're slacking in their respective sport? And the best advice I can give you is to be very transparent with them and and impose it. The only way I can really tell you is how I handle situations. There's been times where Nadia, your niece, our oldest daughter, has decided that she just wasn't going to give it 100%, and like I just mentioned before, that's unacceptable in our household. And I could think about one particular example where she was playing actually select soccer, and she had just started playing with this select soccer team. She made a commitment, and then they had a tournament. They had a tournament one week, and in the first game of the tournament, she decided that she wasn't going to go hard. And we're sitting on the sideline, visibly getting heated about this situation, because that's not representation of who we are as Stanback. Stanback's going to give it 100%, even if you don't feel like being there that day. If you're tired, if you're hurting, like, you're still going to give it 100, because that is the commitment that you made. You decided, nobody forced you. You decided that you wanted to carry this out. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to carry this out. So with that backing, we were highly disappointed and angry that she decided that she wasn't going to give it 100%. And she seemingly was in that kind of that 7-year-old mode of, or actually the time she was 6, that I'm going to do what I want to do, and I don't have to do this. We're like, all right. So Natalie and I had a nice little discussion, and I told her, prior to going to talk to Nadia, that I wasn't going to let her play the next game. You were going to sit there, and you were going to watch your teammates, and you were going to show up in your little slippers, and you're going to sit on the bench, and you're going to tell your teammates why you're not playing. And the reason why you're not playing is because I decided not to give you guys 100% of what I had for selfish reasons. And I use that example, Mike, because at that moment, it was a teaching moment for her. It was a teaching moment that we got across to her that, number one, you commit to something, you're responsible for carrying it out. Number two, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it at the best of your ability. Being present is, you don't get cool points for being present, right? You do not get cool points for being present. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to your family. And it's definitely not fair to your teammates and your coaches, right? You're wasting everybody's time, right? And number three, if you decide to act that way, I promise you that everything else that you think that you're just going to receive, I promise you will not receive anymore, right? So in regards to her, I threatened to take her toys away. I threatened everything else that she felt like she was entitled to her. I was going to take it all away, because she failed to carry out her commitment. And she sat there and watched that game, and it cut her deep. It cut her deep because she's such a people person, right, that it ate at her that she was sitting there not being able to contribute, or choosing not to contribute. Right, at that time, it was our choice that she wasn't able to contribute to her teammates, when I know that she cares so much about them. So it put her in a bad position, and she came back the next game and balled out.
And Natalie is co-signing on the chat. She says they will finish games and seasons because of the commitments they've made to their teams and coaches.
Doggone right. One thing I want to kind of also touch on is, I know I'm talking a lot about the athlete. It's not just athletes. Let's not get this misconstrued, okay? This is not just athletes. This happens along a lot of different regions, whether people are students, right? And you see parents that are forcing just books down their kids' throats, right? And career paths, right? How many times have you seen parents forcing, you're going to be a doctor, right? Or you're going to graduate high school, then you're going to get the best grade, and then you're going to go to college, and you're going to get your PhD, and you're going to, like, this happens across all realms. It really does. Obviously, speaking from the sports background, but I see it across the board. And career paths, right? You see, parents that are lawyers. It's like, my kid, you're going to be a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer. Oh no, you're going to be a lawyer because I know that this is the life that you're going to have. That's wrong. Are they going to be successful? Yeah, they're going to be successful because they're smart and they have the resources. Is they going to be passionate about it? Nah, not at all. Will they learn to resent you? Yeah, they will resent you for the rest of their lives. They will develop a deep embedded hate that is going to carry out and be transformed and let out on somebody else later on in life, right? So don't do it, people. Don't do it. All right, I'm telling you. Okay, it doesn't matter what sport, what category in your school, whatever it is. Just allow your kids to generate their own passion, their own desires. Nadia didn't want to do gymnastics no more. Guess what? You're going to finish out this year, and then you're not doing gymnastics anymore. Like that. It's pretty simple. You made that decision. You live and die with your decisions. Now she wants to go back to gymnastics. Guess what? Nah. You want to go back to gymnastics because your sister's doing gymnastics, right? Not because you're passionate about it, right? When you exhibit that you're passionate about gymnastics, okay, then we'll go back to supporting you. But at this point in time, you let us know that you weren't passionate about it no more. So guess what? We're going to give you opportunity to try something else, right? So I think and I think that's a big portion of it. And I think a lot of times we see these, one of the things that irritates me more than anything is football and baseball major, big time. You see these parents come in and their kids get burnt out so much on baseball. Baseball takes so much out of you. These kids literally are 7 days a week. 7 days a week. How is it that you're expecting your kid to be successful, be passionate, and be energetic about doing something that you're not doing work 7 days a week? you're not doing that. So how are you going to place these demands on somebody who's a fourth of your age? Like it's crazy. And like Zig said, don't manipulate it. Don't manipulate it to make yourself feel better, because you're the one in the stands, boasting about how great your kid's doing, and your kid is probably looking up there, looking at you like, this is them. This is for them. I've literally made parents stay out of our gym area in training, right? Because I see while I'm training them, and it cuts me deep. I'm not a sensitive dude, but it infuriates me, and my eyes might have got watery because the connection with the kid, not because of anything else. But I literally see these kids glancing back and forth between me and their parents during training, and I've had to grab them and be like, "Hey, focus." And I had to have somebody else or one of our other staff members go distract their parents, and it just lets me know how much weight they're bearing. They're not allowed to fulfill their full potential because they're afraid to make a mistake. If they're afraid to make a mistake, how is it that they're going to grow? How do you expect them to learn? If you fall down, you got to get back up. That don't mean somebody ain't got to pick you up every single time. Get back up, figure it out. That's how you learn life lessons, right? When these kids are looking over their shoulder because of what they're going to face to their parents, it's a sad day, and it's usually because their parents are feeling inferior about something about their lives.
We have Kathy Kessler,
Mama
loving
Kate.
what you're saying. We have a couple more questions. The first one is from Michael Baum. He wants to know, where are your sleeves?
See, what happened was it's so doggone hot outside, they melted off before I got in here.
And then we also have a question from Leticia Bazemore. Do you think that kids should have a trade?
Should they have a trade? I can't say that they should. I wouldn't utilize the term should. Just like I mentioned before, I feel as if they're passionate about something, that you should be there to support them 100%. Purely, just whatever it is, as long as it is within within your the character of you and your family, let them do it. Let them explore. Who are we to sit up here and tell them what they can and can't do? Or what they have to do, right? When in regards to this, now obviously we talk about chores, we talk about you got to do good in school. All that's normal stuff, right? That's understood. But when we start forcing them into things that should be options for them, that's when I think we run into some issues. So I wouldn't utilize the term should, but I would definitely say support them 100%. And if you're hinting at should they be busy, should you keep your kids busy? Heck to the yes. I'm definitely a big advocate of that. I don't think that kids should be sitting around. I'm not a big fan of kids being on tablets all the time. I know that's something that we're looking to change within our household because our kids are addicted to tablets, and or we get in the car and they just turn the movie on. You should not have to always be. You should not always have to be entertained by watching something, right? Learn other skills. We got to start getting outside more. I started doing that yesterday, taking the kids outside, just run around for a couple minutes and, come back in. Just, a big part of it is as us as parents, the things that we have to change, the comfort zone that we have to get out of. We've allowed for this generation to become what it is. And I think it's up to us to kind of, remember the time, like MJ said, and bring it back so that they can share some of that experience. And who knows the effect that it'll have over them. I see you, Mama K, Nate Dogg. All right, you guys feel free to continue to ask some questions. I want to go ahead and address some of the questions that I didn't get to last week. All right, my strong side, my boy Stanley Daniels asked me last week, "What's your why?" And I think I briefly addressed this question. I didn't give it enough. I didn't give it his due diligence, his due credit. My why really depends on what it is that I'm trying to go after. And I gave you a brief answer last time when I said God and my family. That's always the case, right? That's usually going to be my driving force. But my why really depends on what it is that I'm trying to go after, what I'm trying to attain. And I think a lot of times I can always rest assured on my why is that I care about who I am. I care about my brand. I care about being respected. I care, and when you care deeply about those things and you recognize that you don't just get those things back, right? You don't just get respect overnight. You don't just gain notoriety. You don't just build a great brand, a great representation, a great reputation. You don't gain these things overnight, and I think that's my why. Why don't you drink? That's one of the main reasons why. Why don't you go out to these places? My reputation, right? So I think a lot of my why, Stan, can really fall back on how I want to be respected when I leave this earth, the impact that I want to have. And I think one of the greatest things I heard is, if somebody was going to write a eulogy about you right now, what would they say? And I think if you live your life that way, I think you'll find your why.
Now, before we get to that next question there, Zaire Brown hopped on with another question about our topic for tonight. What if you feel like your kids can achieve higher goals than the goals they've set for themselves?
Like it. Z, I think this is one area that I'm a very black and white person. as you know, Z, very black and white person, but that's a great point, right? So say your kids, and this is where the vision comes from, right? So like when you talk about when I brought up the example of the Greek Freak, and his MVP speech. If you guys haven't heard that, go back and look it up on YouTube and listen. Just look at the passion that this dude had. I call him a kid. He's younger than me, but as a beast of an athlete, and he didn't just wake up like that. There's plenty of tall guys around this world, right? Plenty of tall guys. But you heard him utilize the term vision. And, when we say vision, you can correlate that to your goals, right? His vision for himself, who knows? I'm not him, so I can't speak on it, but maybe he set his vision on just becoming a pro. Maybe that was a ceiling for him, right? Maybe that was his ceiling. But then his mother invested in him. His mother pushed him. His mother supported him. His mother held him accountable, and she saw what he was capable of, just like you're pertaining to, right? You potentially see what your kids are capable of. So it's your job as a parent to then help them, right, and assist them and walk right next to them the whole time and push them in the direction of excellence, right? And it's different between pushing them in a direction and forcing them in a direction, right? You're leading the way. It's no different than you walking your dog, right? You got the leash, right? The dog follows you, right? Be there to support them, help them to see the vision. I talk to athletes all the time, and I ask them, why are they training? I think I addressed this in one of the previous podcasts. I said, well, why are you training? I have a kid tell me, oh, because I want to be a good player. Okay, that's it. And this is how the conversation I have. That's it. That's what you want. You just want to be a good player. Oh, no. I want to be a starter. Cool. You just want to be a starter. All right. On just your team, right? You just want to be a starter. There's plenty of teams around this country, right? or the world. That you're good with that, right? If you become a starter, that's your pinnacle. That's your Mount Everest right there. They're like, no, I want to be the best on the team. Okay, that's what's up. That's cool. Does being the best on your team put you in position to go after what exactly, right? And I just try to start pulling these nuggets out of them, right? Until they sit up there and tell me, I want to go to college. I want to play at a D1 school. I want to go pro. I want to be the best at playing pro. Now we're getting somewhere, right? Now we're getting somewhere. Now you're establishing, like Stan asked me, your why. Why are you training? I'm training because I want to be the best. Right, I'm training because I want to be the best. No different than me today. People clown me when I'm working out because I'm in my own zone. I got my headphones on. I'm out there just being me, being a clown, and I'm listening to songs like "I'm a Beast" by Eminem. And I consider myself to be a beast. Like is until somebody proves me wrong. Like I'm faster than you. I'm stronger than you. Like all those things, right? Like, and you have to have that kind of swag. You have to have that kind of confidence because the moment that you set, that you allow yourself to be beneath somebody, what are you really going after? You're settling. And the moment that you settle, you settle for one thing, you settle for anything. So that's kind of a long-winded answer for you, Z. But I would just say really trying to pry out of your kid why they're doing it. Are you doing it just because it's cool? Are you doing it because your friends are doing it? Are you doing it because it's just a fun activity? No. I want to be good. Okay, all right. Well, just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep pulling it out of them, right? And then when they finally give you what you perceive to be, hey, that's a real goal that you can set forth. Because everything else that they say might be, short-term goals, and that's fine, right? Those are goals that they need to attain in order to reach the big boy goal, right? But make sure that they have the big boy goal. Because if they have the big boy goal, that's the end game, right? That's the end game. That's what they're chasing. What do you think LeBron's still doing? LeBron ain't satisfied. You think he's satisfied with everybody saying he's the best in the world? No. That dude's not satisfied with everybody saying he's the best player in the world. Why? Because there's a dude out there named Michael Jordan who got more rings than him, right? He will never be satisfied. He's still going to chase after them doggone rings because there's somebody that's in the classification that can say, I'm better than you. Same thing with the GOAT. Tom Brady, TB12. Who's he chasing? He's the best. He's the GOAT. His nickname is the GOAT, right? He has the most rings, right? He's been to the most Super Bowls. What is he chasing? He's chasing the inevitable. Whoever's going to come behind him, he's trying to separate himself so much that that he's unattainable. So that's kind of my long-winded answer. The next question I didn't get to last week, okay, and like I said, if you guys have questions or anything, chime in. Jeff Broadwell posted, he said, if you could change something from college, what would you have changed in that's goal-related? I was chasing my goals, man, Jeff. My goal, and I didn't hit it, unfortunately. Well, there was a couple goals I had. I wanted to be the fastest quarterback in the league. I wanted to win Pac-10 Player of the Year, and before leaving college, as we were going through the tough times, I wanted to have a bowl game win and position our university to to kind of pass the torch on to Jake at the time. Jake Locker. So I became the fastest in the league. I think I became the fastest quarterback. I did that. But then my injury prevented me from getting Pac-10 Player of the Year and prevented me from positioning our university to win a bowl game. So those are the goals that I wish I could go back and change. Another goal that I attained was graduating in 4 years. I did that, but not with the degree that I should have. Right? I set my goals entirely too low in that regard. So I've been disappointed in myself for that. So those are kind of the things that I would go back and change. Do we got any more questions for tonight? Anybody else see anything that we missed? What is it?
We definitely want to shout out to some people that we didn't get a chance to thank for tuning in earlier in the show. We had, let me pull it up here. We also had Anthony Mobley tuning in. And we had Fatima Khan tuning in earlier saying that you were giving out some words of wisdom. So we definitely want to thank them for watching.
Thank you,
and early, Jonathan Adkins, when you were talking about your childhood, he said, speak the truth. It was see you when the streetlights come on. So he definitely,
right. Doggone right. Dope. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in. As we tackle the topic of, are they doing it for the love of the game or are they doing it for their parents? Just kind of my last little word of advice is parents, allow your kids to generate and develop passion for the activities that they're participating in. Don't force them, support them. Right? Don't force them, support them, and you'll be amazed at the heights that they can reach. But appreciate you guys for following the Isaiah Stanback speaker page. I appreciate that, y'all. I'm trying to convert everybody from the personal page over to that one. You guys can also find me on Instagram at I Stanback, and I also have an Isaiah Stanback speaking page there as well. You guys can start following that. Check out the website. All right. Check out the website, IsaiahStanback.com. Give me some feedback. We're trying to tie all these things into that. The YouTube page. Okay. We have a YouTube page, Really Real Show. You guys can go in there and check out all the episodes. I think that we might be around episode 9 or so. You guys can go back and check all those out. Make sure you guys comment so I can get back to you guys. I want to make sure that this is a really engaging environment. And I think the next time that we'll be live is be in 2 weeks. Okay, it's two Wednesdays from now. And I believe we have a nice little guest for you guys. I know y'all tired of seeing my face, so we're gonna get you guys some other people to sit up here and talk to. Got some of my ex-teammates that you guys might recognize.
Actually, I think that we are live next week, July 3rd. Yeah, I think that's what we scheduled.
Next week. Okay, no disrespect. Next week. I got a lot going on. Next week, July 3rd, the day before the 4th of July, we'll be live again. And I got to check the schedule to see if we have a guest then. But we do have some guests coming up. I'm starting to line them up. If you guys have some apparel or anything like that, this is our Steadfast apparel. You guys see it. Feel free to shoot it over to me. But aside from that, you guys, follow those handles. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Keep it live. Keep it really real. Holla at you guys next time.